Okay, so chapter 11, Vishwarupa Darshan. I've seen artist depiction of Vishwarupa Darshan. I'm sure you all would have seen these too. And then there's like one tiny Arjuna looking up like this in awe. And there's one huge Krishna. And then with so many heads and so many hands and the sun and the moon. I'm sure you've seen these kind of pictures. And those kind of pictures comes from this verse. Because he's saying, you sing it all in me. And that vastness of what Arjuna is seeing can't possibly be like that art show of a film being projected on a body, which is just so limited. Because when we're going to see the description being given here, it's just huge. But also going back to everything is in Krishna. So let's go back to the logic of Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 1, Arjuna cannot see anything except his own greed. I've gone all the way back to chapter 1. And what's he seeing now in chapter 11? No longer his own greed, but Bhagawan's glories, Vishwarupa Darshan. To even get from seeing only his own greed to seeing Vishwarupa Darshan took 10 chapters. Like when we think of our mindset and how we need to change our mindset, so often we are in the mindset of chapter 1. That's why Bhagavad Gita is so incredibly powerful, because so often in life we find ourselves in chapter 1. What was chapter 1? I am so overwhelmed by what life has given me. That's chapter 1. And life is so difficult. I have so many problems. That's chapter 1. I can only see my heartache, my disappointment, my fears, my desires, and I can't even differentiate what I'm feeling because I'm feeling so much. That's chapter 1. Like really, we in chapter 1 so often. Like if you think in a week, like let's say from Sunday to Sunday, we visited chapter 1 at least once in the week. At least minimum once in the week we have been in chapter 1 because we have been so upset that we can't see beyond our emotions. We have been so overwhelmed because life is so like full. Or we've just been really feeling sorry for ourselves because life is just so hard. At least once in the week, we have the feeling of chapter 1. We may not remember Bhagavad Gita, and we may not remember Krishna and Arjuna and the conversation they have, but we definitely feeling what the feelings of chapter 1 is. Chapter 2 is Arjuna turning to Krishna saying, help me. Now, maybe in a week, how often are we in chapter 2? Like maybe 60 times? Because in a day, at least once, we're thinking, oh God, help. I cannot listen to this person anymore. Please, Krishna, help. Or I have to do something and we're thinking, Shri Guru Charana, I need strength to be able to do this. And so, as spiritual seekers, I think we visit chapter 2 at least once a day. Potentially more, depending on what's going on in our lives. And if things are really good, then maybe we don't visit chapter 2. Maybe we just say, thank you, Krishna. But often we're like, I have to deal with this. Okay. Chapter 3 is, okay, how? How am I going to deal with this? It's that readiness to face what has to be faced, but not quite yet ready. So chapter 4 elaborates. In chapter 5 again, he's like, are you sure? Are you sure I have to do this? Who's saying this? Arjuna. Because basically chapter 5 is this. Like, is there any way I can get out of this? Is chapter 5. So sometimes we take a deep breath and we're going to do whatever it is we have to do. And then we go back into that, like if there's an out, I want the out. That's what chapter 5 is. Chapter 6 is, there's no out. I'm going to have to meditate. Eventually, I'm going to have to face my own mind. Chapter 7 is, I'm going to stop thinking about me and my problems. There's that quote that Guruji uses very often. Don't tell God how big your problems are. Tell your problems how big your God is. Chapter 7 is this. Chapter 7 is me stopping telling God how big my problems are. Me starting to recognize how big and beautiful God is. How did I get there? I had to meditate. And realize my mind is such a horrendous mess. Let's not look at my mind. Let's look at God. Let's look at Bhagawan. Chapter 9. I know I missed chapter 8. Krishna starts with, I am in them, they are in me. Now, never mind them, because we only worried about me. So effectively, Krishna is saying, I am in you, and you are in me. That's a very Upanishadic verse. There are Upanishadic verses earlier in the Gita as well, but that's the first one where it's really pulling us into seeing that our relationship with divinity is that incredibly intrinsic. Gurudev used to say that we are as far away from God as the wave is from the ocean. Like, all our whining and our control and our complaining and all our fear and all our frustrations and all of that, when if we just change perspectives, we are infinitely powerful and infinitely free and infinitely knowing, infinitely at peace. And even though I'm not feeling that, knowing it kind of opens the possibility of I can be. When I'm feeling something very strongly, I just kind of have to, it's like if there's a really bad smell in the room, what do? Open window. And we're thinking we're opening window to let the smell out, but actually what we're doing is we're letting fresh air in. Same thing, a little bit different now when I'm going to use the next analogy. So I'm in my own head and thoughts are smell, interestingly. It's very interesting that our thoughts create smell. And then, like in animals, when an animal is distressed, they actually smell different. And maybe we can't smell it, but other animals can smell it. Thoughts are smell. That's why it's vasanas. That's why the word used is vasanas, because thoughts are smell. And so here's me in my own head, and then let's say highly distressed, and like an animal is distressed and their smell changes. In my own head, I'm now so anxious and I'm so upset and I'm so scared or just torn within myself about the feeling, and maybe there's guilt and maybe there's regret and thinking so many things. And then I have to open a window, open a door, because that smell gets very strong. And the opening of the window is allowing grace in. That's why I emphasize that opening the window is not so much about me getting rid of the smell, is allowing fresh smell, air in. Because in my head, opening window is allowing grace in. So stop thinking so much. which is very hard to do. And so just opening window is like small, a small gap in the thinking where I just turn to the divine. And then when I turn to the divine, and there's the remembrance of that peace exists, love exists, strength exists, harmony exists. I'm not feeling any of it, but it exists. If it exists, there's hope. Even though, of course, I've felt it all in the past, but when I'm very upset, I forget that I felt it all in the past. And so it's just that reminder that it exists. It's not even like I can feel that way again. That's step 2. Step 1 is just knowing it exists. Opening window is just allowing that grace in. And then, of course, step 2 is I have felt that in the past. I can feel it again. I'm just feeling this way for now. This too shall pass. Such a simple thing. And we're losing the ability to do it. There's the number of people that are stressed, the number of people that are depressed. Why? Actually, if you look at our grandparents' lives, World War I happened, World War II happened, partition happened, there was so many injustice, there was no equal rights for women, there was so much prejudice. Their lives were so much harder. We don't see them going for counseling, we don't see them going into depression, we don't see them. We've forgotten this. Such a simple thing. Open window in my thinking. Because our thinking just goes on a loop. Literally what our thinking does is go on a loop. So whether I used to give that example, I mean, they're not there anymore. But most of you are listening to me and my generation, so you all remember it. It used to be those, what were they called? They were called records? And in those, if it's scratched, it would loop. Right? That line would come again and then it would loop. And instead of going to the next line, that same line would play again and that same line would play again and that same line. And then it was scratched and it was ruined and you didn't have to, you couldn't listen to it again. Now our mind does that. When we get upset, it's like a scratch on that record. And then we think the same thought and we think the same thought and we think the same thought. We think the same scenario, we think the same scenario, we think the same scenario, we think the same scenario. And that's how the emotion just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And then open window means out of this loop. You just introduce, even if you introduce 3, 4 more thoughts and then go back to the loop. Then introduce 5, 6 thoughts, then you go back to the loop. But at least introducing something other than just the loop, you'll be fine. But if you stay in the loop, none of us will be fine. Even the strongest person staying in that loop will break down. And the weakest person, you break them from the loop and they'll be fine. This is the skill we have to remember to have. We indulge too much in our own thoughts. Because we assume indulging gives us happiness. So I indulge in chocolate and then I'll indulge in a movie and then I'll indulge in going out and then I'll indulge in sleeping in late and then I think, yeah, indulging is pampering myself. But then what happens is we've created a tendency within us to indulge, and then our thoughts come up and we indulge the thoughts. But indulging the thoughts of misery, indulging the thoughts of sadness, indulging the thoughts of guilt, of self-pity, of self-blame, of guilt, of regret, of indulging those thoughts make us weaker, make us miserable. And so don't indulge yourself. How not to indulge those thoughts? We have to remember to create the talent or habit or skill of no need to indulge. I'm better off without it. It's tempting, but I'm better off without it. That mindset has to then be able to, we have to be able to apply it outside, then we can apply it inside. We have to apply it inside so we can apply it outside. Which one first? You keep experimenting with whichever one works first. Because outside affects inside and inside affects outside. We have to just keep trying. So, where did all of this come from? Chapter 9. I am in you and you are in me. When I'm stuck in this loop of obsessive thinking, how to open that window? He's in me. Sometimes doesn't work so well. I'm in him. Sometimes works better. Just yesterday, somebody was telling me they have to go into this environment where they feel very unsafe and very threatened and very vulnerable. And they asked me what I should do. And what I do is, there was 6'3", 6'3", 6'2", 6'4", somewhere. He was tall. He'd be much bigger than me, right? I am 5'6". So Gurudev would have been sufficiently bigger than me. And I haven't met him, but so many people have said because he was so tall, he had such long hands. And I've heard of this many times because, in the Bhagavatam, they give the description of Vishnu having one of the signs of knowing that this is a Vishnu avatar is that they have extraordinarily long hands. And people would say Gurudev's hands were extraordinarily long. Of course, when you love people, you want to find those similarities. And then, so it registered in my mind that people had said that. Now, whether they were extraordinarily long or just long because he's so tall, he had long hands. So I would imagine, because Gurudev doesn't have physical body anymore. Now he's only in Sukshma Roop, he is subtle body, and like an angelic figure, that he would be showering above me and holding me in his hands. And now I can go wherever I need to go, no matter how daunting it is. And you can change Gurudev with Shiva, with Hanuman, with Devi. I am in him. Because if I think he's in me, then he's very small and my problems are so big. But remember, no. We have to remember. He is very big. I am small. I'm only small. I'm in him. And if I'm in him and he's very big and I'm small and I'm in him, my problems also have to be small only. Because my problems are in me and I'm in him. And so this is a very nice perspective shift. And then in this chapter here, Krishna is saying the whole universe is inside me. That's what this line was saying. Bhagawan is huge, that the whole universe fits inside it. Like if we physically think about space, like just this room, from one end of this room to the other end of the room, so much space. Imagine if there were no walls in Hong Kong. How big Hong Kong would be? Like already you're thinking, huh? So sometimes when we're in America, London, and you're one of those roads, and those roads never seem to end, and you think so much space. But that's not even so much space. If you go to countries where, like Africa, and you go on safari and you just see the range, like the land just extending and extending and extending and extending, and then you can see the mountain in the distance, and you can think how far away that mountain is because it doesn't look tall, but actually we know it's so incredibly tall. And so you're just thinking how vast space is. And that's only how much we're seeing is already limited by our eyesight, huh? Like there's so much there that we can't even see. We can't see all of space. Our vision runs out in one continent only, and then how big is this whole world? And then how big must be the entire universe? And all of that is inside Krishna. So, behold, all of this in Mama Dehi, in my body. And everything that's in there is both, like there's living beings are in him, then everything which is not living and not moving, insentient, is also in him. And so not only all of space is in him, but everything that exists in space is also in him. Which is everything, because everything exists in space. And then Krishna says, and whatever else you desire to see is also in me. Now, actually, there can't be anything else other than the moving and the non-moving. But in case anything else you desire to see, that's also in me. So, Krishna has, with all enthusiasm and with all gusto showing. And then suddenly Krishna realizes, because Krishna is saying, behold, the Adityas and the Marits, and behold this color, and Arjuna is looking a bit blank. Sometimes on Zoom also, no? Like if I am muted and I'm excitedly talking, but you're all looking at me like, Swamiji, we can't hear you. Swamiji, wait. Like all parishan faces. So here also, Krishna is like, yeah. Arjuna is like, huh? But where? What? I'm not seeing any of this. And then, like, I'll also suddenly remember, oh, I'm muted. Krishna has this moment of, oh, not that Krishna's muted. Na tu mam shakyase drishtam aneva swachakshusha divyam dadami te chakshuhu. Pashyame yoga aishwaram. And suddenly Krishna realizes, oh, but you can't see, because every equipment has its limitation. These physical eyes of ours cannot see what is not gross. Basically, our eyes are gross, solid, tangible. And so we can only see what is solid and tangible. And then with our mind, from seeing what's solid and tangible, we can infer things. For example, when we walk into a room and we see glass shattered on the floor and we see a little kid looking up at us like this, we can infer. They broke the glass. So the mind, which is more subtle than our physical eyes, can see further than the physical object. Inference is seeing further than the physical. Physical object, what you see is just broken glass. But we see far more. Depending on the look of the child, we can see that now they're scared. We sing so much more. Maybe they're scared from the noise and the potential of being hurt. Or they're scared of you and what you're going to do. Even that we can see when we look at the kid. And so we know straight away to reassure them and how to reassure. So we can reassure them that you're fine. Look, nothing got hurt. Or we have to reassure them, it's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. We know exactly, but that's not physically evident. It's our thinking that sees further than the gross object. Now, even though our mind can see more than physical, even our mind has limitations. In that, it only recognizes what it already knows. And then so much of this we don't recognize. This divine form that Krishna is talking about doesn't recognize. So here, natumam shakyasi, you're not able to see with these eyes that you have, swachakshasha. Therefore is implied, it's not actually said. Divyam dadami te chakshuku. This is like such a sweet line in the Gita. Krishna says, I will give you divine vision. Divyam is divine, dadami ke chakshuku vision. Pashyame yoga aishwaram. So that you can see my beauty, my glories. What is this Divya Chakshu? Because after Arjuna gets this Divya Drishti, he can now see. Just like on the Zoom, when we unmute, you can now suddenly hear. But seeing that divinity is so much more than being able to hear what we already knew could hear before. It was just a limitation of the equipment. This we upgrading to see something we've never seen before. And so this Divya Drishti, remember everything that's been given in the Gita, even though in a way we can romanticize it and think how lucky was Arjuna that he got to stand in front of Krishna, and how lucky was Arjuna that he got to get this Divya Drishti directly from Krishna. And then sometimes in dramas, like because Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gave Divya Drishti to Vivekananda, which is the only case we know other than Krishna giving Arjuna, and it says that Paramahamsaji clicked on the third eye for Vivekananda, and then Vivekananda gets this, goes straight into Samadhi. He was Narendra at the point in time. But and then in that story, it is said that Paramahamsaji takes it back. And Narendra is so restless, like, no, you can't take it back. Imagine doing something so great and then you take it back. And literally, I don't know if there was a physical key or not, but Paramahamsaji puts his hand in his pocket and says, you're not going to pick it until you have served humanity sufficiently. And then we hear these stories and we think, like, why only Vivekananda got it? Why only Arjuna got it? Like, why can't I also get it? And that's why I'm going to say that even though there's a romantic aspect to this, we should know that in the Gita, there's nothing that's given that we cannot experience and understand. And so each and every single one of us have Divya Drishti. And it's represented in Bhagwan Shiva as the third eye. In Yoga Shastras, we know that there's a chakra that's there in the middle of our Go ahead. What's it called? In English, we call it third eye. Why don't I know the name? Because in Vedanta, we don't believe in chakras. Does it exist? Yes. Is it a physical thing? It cannot be. How do we know it cannot be a physical thing? Because with physical eyes, you can only see physical things. This, what we're seeing with the third eye, is not physical. So it cannot be a physical thing. Now, I've already explained that with the mind, we can see so much more than our physical eyes. And so a lot of explanations, especially at Balvihar level, it's called the eye of knowledge. And this eye of knowledge, we've seen so much with it already. Like quantum physicists have understood phenomenal things, but you can't physically see them. It's all happening at the subatomic level, and we've understood it. And because we understood it, we can see it. And even with medical science, we know there's the physical organs, but we also know that there's meridians and different powers of magnets at play, and energy and electricity at play. And understanding it, we can use those kind of treatments to help people, but you can't physically see it. Again, even recently, somebody was telling me they've been doing all this pranayamas, and then, they've been feeling so amazing about it, and that you can't see pranas. You can measure before doing it, you can measure after doing it, and you can see the difference and the progress that doing it has made, but you can't physically see what happened when the pranayamas were being done. So this eye, this third eye, is not a physical thing. It's not even an energetic thing, because we have to be able to see further than even energy. It's that aspect of ourself which is already divine can see itself, which is so incredibly beautiful. Physically, we can see ourselves, right? Physical eyes, I can see my physical hand. And so, same way. That aspect of me, which is divine, can see myself. And Krishna is not just telling Arjuna, Divyam Dadami. He's telling all of us, I have given you divine vision. Maybe we don't know how to activate it. Maybe we don't know how to use it yet. Maybe we're seeing it and we're not even recognizing it. But Krishna has said, I have given you this Divya Chakshu. And every now and then in our lives, we can see. There's moments in our lives where everything just slots into place and we think, I was so insignificant in all these happenings and doings. And then we feel this overwhelming sense of reverence. There have been moments in our lives where we have felt. And it can be something as easily, somebody recent, so many people getting married. So when wedding season already started. And it can be the simplest thing, a backyard wedding. It can be the fanciest thing, like royalty getting married. But there'll be a moment where maybe a parent will have that. It didn't matter what I did or anyone else did, and everything was just perfect the way it was. And then, thank you, God. Right, that moment where I can see that it was all His grace and all His doing, all His blessings. Divya Chakshus. Or it can be in any functioning that we do, in terms of we try so hard to improve, we try so hard to get our health in order. We try so hard to work on a relationship. We try and we work and we work and we work and we work, and then there'll just be this moment of absolute clarity that I had to go through all of this to be where I am right now, and I'm here. Doesn't mean there are not going to be more challenges. There'll be plenty, but he's been there the whole time, and he will be there the whole time. All is as it should be, even though I don't like any of it. Divya Chakshu. There'll be those small glimpses into a larger picture, and the stillness of mind that we feel at seeing this large picture. And then it disappears, and we come back to being me and grumpy and irritable and complaining and whining. And we forget we even had those. Until you come back to chapter 11. So what was chapter 1? It's too hard, I don't want to deal. Leave me alone. What was chapter 2? Oh, yeah, Bhagawan, help. Can you just solve everything for me? What was chapter 3? No, I'll work. Tell me what I should do. What was chapter 5? No, I don't want to work anymore. You do it. Give me an out. Okay, there's no out. Chapter 6. I have to face my own mind. Chapter 7. My mind's too hard. Let's face Bhagwan. He's so much nicer to look at. Let's hold on to Bhagwan. Chapter 9. I see. He's so much bigger. In chapter 11, all is as it should be. We visit different chapters of the Gita all through the week. So nice to understand the Gita. We see the Gita as a book. We have to study it and go through the Gita. But when we see the Gita as these emotions that we are in and out of in our lives. This incredible, we're so blessed because Bhagwan's giving. Like in chapter 1, you're not doing anything for me. My problems are so big and there's a whole war and you're sitting right here and you're just looking at me. You're not even helping me. You're not even understanding my problems. We're screaming at Krishna, right, in chapter 1. And in chapter 11, it's like, you've given me so much. I should be so ashamed of myself. Because in chapter 11, we see, because he's given us Divya Chakshu. So it's this, like, we're so blessed. Hear it. Imagining him holding on to us, but actually he never let go. He put everything in us before we needed it. It's like sometimes, when kids are coming for Barbihar camp or you're sending them off to college, and the parent already knows, puts the towel, puts the extra clothes, puts the tissue, puts the, whatever, the snack, puts everything is there already. The kid comes to Barbihar camp and is crying, I don't have a towel. And we're like, are you sure? We open the bag and yes, towel. Oh, I don't have clothes. You didn't pack your bag, did you? Your mom packed your bag. Yeah, here's your clothes. And this is us. Who are we? The kid. We come into this life and we're crying, I don't have. And then Bhagwan's looking at us, packed it already in you. We're here, already inside. In our mind, he's already packed Divya Chakshu. He's already packed understanding. He's already packed kindness. He's already packed reverence. He's already packed clarity of thought, purity of mind. He's already packed it all in there and he's waiting. It's waiting for you to find it in there. Now it's there, it's there. And what is Gita? It's just reminding you, it's there, it's there, it's there. It's already packed. You already have it. Just open your eyes and see it. As parents, mothers especially, you'll have all done. Open your eyes, it's right in front of you. How are you not able to see it? It's there, it's there. This is Krishna. This is Krishna looking at you, saying, how do you not see it? It's right in front of you. Like, oh, what are you crying? This is chapter 11. So this third eye of knowledge is like with anything, we have to get used to being able to use it. You know, even the first time you get introduced to like something like belly breathing. If you're not already doing it, some people say it's the natural breathing. I don't know what's natural because all of us are different, right? So if you were someone who always breathed into your lungs, now you got introduced to belly breathing. Now breathe into your belly. So much effort it takes to concentrate the thought to now breathe into the belly. So here, but you can do it, right? Because you have belly and you have breath and you can do it. Here also, I have Divya Chakshu. Now, I haven't done it before, and so it feels really hard to do. Even though I've pointed out to you moments in your life where you've already done it. The difference is, these moments in our life when we've done it, they've happened to us. We now have to consciously learn how to see it. So how does it happen to us? Number one, we zoom out. We're not seeing just here now. We're seeing that in the vastness of the span of my life. And so just that is a skill already. When we find ourselves in a situation, when we find ourselves in an emotion, they're two different things, right? I find myself in the situation, something is happening. You talking to me, or maybe a typhoon, and you know, or something is damaged or illness. And then there's a situation, and I find myself in the situation. Even then, zoom out. While you talking, okay, you are more than what you're saying right now. Zoom out. I am more than what I have just said. Zoom out. And then, if there's no situation, because this happens very often, it's just me with my own mind. Then I'm not in a situation, I'm in an emotion. And it will usually be related to a situation. But it's different from being in a situation. Because outside, the situation's not there. It's just me with my mind, and I am in an emotion. Zoom out. The emotion is in me. I am not in the emotion. Just mastering this skill is already huge. That was chapter 9. Zooming out was chapter 9. They are in me, I am not in me. Now here, in chapter 10, we've progressed from zooming out to I have everything I need already with me. I have to see it. I have everything I need already with me. Find it. Find it in me. Not to do anything. The doing will come afterwards. The feeling of it. Because more than doing, we identify with feeling. We do identify with it. But first we identify with feeling. And what we do depends a lot on what we feel. And so first we have to feel. Chapter 11. He has already given me what I need. Then the doing becomes easy because I'm already feeling it. So this is such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful verse. And even I haven't looked at the Gita as emotions before. So, I mean, little bit I have, but not to the extent that I did today. So that was fun. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhino Sarve Sattu Nirame Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Kripatave Asato Ma Satgamani Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamani Mrityurma Amritam Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadat Purnameva Shishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Hari